What up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Author Terry Wroten, man. You know, with the heart of the streets, Terry Wroten TV. Today in the hot boot, man, we got an author, a well-known author out here in the streets, man. I had to bring y'all an author. I'm going to let him introduce himself, man. I'm going to let him tell him a little about yourself, man. To the people, can you tell the people who you are, man, what you do?
I'm I.R. Anderson. I'm the author of Flocking, Fatherless Son, and most recently, Prison Pimpin'.
Man, let us see the covers of them books, man, because there's a lot of people out there that's been asking me about book publishing and different stuff like that, on how to publish and just different things like that. Tell us a little about yourself, man. What made you want to write books, and how did you come about all this?
Well, to be honest, my love for writing started in prison. Well, on my way to prison, I was in the county jail, and right before I went and got sentenced to prison, my auntie was like, you got to do some time, so make sure you make the most of your situation. So she told me to write a book. I told her I would. I gave her my word. She probably thought I was lying, but I stuck to it, and I just started writing little bits at a time and came out with 3 books.
Got you. So writing books really came from, like, once again, like, that's kind of like my story too. Everybody know I started writing books in prison and stuff. So you just was confined, and you just felt it was the best time to write down and get your thoughts out there.
Right, and you basically just for me, I started off just jotting down stuff, putting little stuff on a little notepad, and then after a while, I'm like, wow, this is starting to formulate. So then I start writing 2 pages a day. After 2 pages a day, you start seeing the story coming out. Then once the story come out, then you all in tune with it.
So, like, how long did it take you to write your first book?
Well, my first book, which is Flocking, it took I'm gonna say give or take off and on a year, but it wasn't consistent. So it was like me writing, me forgetting it, going to the hole, whatever happened on the yard, then getting back to it. So the whole process about a year.
So being in prison, how hard was it for you to write a book being in prison, like knowing that you was in prison and, like you say, things can happen on the yard and stuff like that? Was it hard, or was you think is it easier? Is it easier writing a book in prison or on the street?
It's definitely easier writing in prison, because at the end of the day, you still in the cell, whether you go to the hole or you on the main line. You got time to write. But then when I got out, I'm like, man, I gotta survive. So you got all other little things in front of you. You got rent, mortgage, whatever you're doing. But it's definitely easier in prison.
Right. Shout out to everybody that's trying to be creative and trying to better themselves in prison. But for the people that's out here on the streets, man, what can you tell them that's trying to write and don't got the time? Because it is hard. Me, I'm an author. I'm a paid author. Like, I get paid to write, and it's hard for me myself. So what about the people who just want a story, who got a story and they want to write, and they've been trying to figure out, like, man, how do I make time, or why does I keep getting stuck? Like, what is your point of view or insight? What you better tell
Well,
them?
I think the best information I can give them, it's gonna take some discipline. So even if it's just an hour a day or 30 minutes a day, right? You just put aside that time, even if you gotta wake up 30 minutes early. I mean, it's possible. It's 24 hours in a day. So you just pick the best time for you, spend that little 30 minutes to an hour a day just writing, perfecting your craft, and then, before you know it, you got a book.
Right, that's good. That's good game. So let me ask you this: a number one question that I get all the time, like from my readers and stuff, and then since I want to have you on, that's my first author to come on here and to give game to different people that want to write books. Like, how do you start writing? Like, what is your process? People always ask me, like, I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start.
Right.
How do you start?
Well, for me, with my first book, so my first book, Flocking, it's more it's more urbanized. So my original case was robberies, right? And so I took when I was in jail at that time in LA, the wave was flocking. So I just took that concept and put it with me and my characters, which was my friends, right? So my whole process of writing was to first take something that I knew and understood, which is the characters, and that was my boys. And then to ask questions, get a whole little overview of what's going on in the city, and then add that to the book. So to answer that question, I guess it would have to be, you got to start wherever you're comfortable at. Even if it's at the back of the book. Start at the back of the book and then work your way back to the front.
Right.
However you make it work, just make it work. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I like my answer to that question. I just tell people, like, when they ask me, like, I don't know where to start. I want to write, but where do I start? I just tell people, just write, man. Right. Just write. Don't even worry about if you're wrong. Don't worry about if you not spelling stuff right. Just write. Get whatever thoughts you out and just write. Don't go back over it till you complete the whole book. But so the next question we get a lot of people asking and stuff like that, like, how do you find the time to write amongst like a busy schedule, like even on the streets, like we in prison, even though you start writing in prison, on the streets, how do an author find the time to write?
All right, so like in certain scenes, like I had different scenes. Like if I'm trying to create a dark scene, like where I'm trying to touch a dark space, I like to write. I'm a weirdo, so I like to write in the dark, right? So I make sure that I'm writing at night. So I create like sometime when it's raining. Like if I got a scene in my head, I try to portray that image in real time. So if it's a dark, gloomy night, I'll wait for that dark, gloomy night, then I'll write that scene, and that way I could captivate the realness of it, if it makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Got you. So with that being said, like just whatever your control, whatever let's say make you creative, that's the place you need to be. Wherever your
Right.
creative play, like I say, Nipsey them got Vector 90, where you go in this creative space. So that's what you said. Whatever your creative
Right.
mind take you, or your place you need to be, that's where you need to be to create.
Right. Yeah, because everybody different, man. Some people like to write, you know what I'm saying, with people around. Me personally, I can't do it. You know, I like to have it quiet. I like to be in my
Right.
own little thoughts. Sometimes I might put on some headphones, listen to a little Nipsey. It's funny you said Nipsey, because I throw on some Nipsey when I'm trying to create this little image of the streets. You know what I'm saying? Because
Gotcha.
I know he could take me somewhere. But yeah.
Got you. So like with all the up and coming people that's probably want to follow behind you and be an author themselves, what would you tell them? What would you tell them? Like, because most people come in this game thinking it's a get rich easy scheme. Don't understand, like, you got to hustle. It's a hustle. It's a
Right.
bustle, and it's kind of similar to a rap game. It's 1,000 people who rapping. It's 1,000 people who writing. Like, what make you stand out, or what game would you better give a person that's trying to get into the publishing game?
I think the biggest misconception I had was when I write the book, I'm going to publish it and then I'm going to start making money. You know, I didn't think that I would have to actually get out there and grind. So I'm sitting there like I'm actually pushing my books like mixtapes. I'm going out there handing books out, telling them, look, man, check out my book. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, throw it away. You know what I'm saying? Just to kind of
Right.
build some momentum. But it's a grind. So you're going to have to grind, especially if you self-publishing. And that's one thing. That's the disadvantage of self-publishing. If you're going to get 70% of your money through CreateSpace, but you gotta put it out there. If you ain't got no major, it's just like anything
So
else.
but not to cut you off, but this is a question that I know they're going to ask and tap in about, and I want you to answer. I'm gonna have to answer it later on in some other, you know, place and time. But like, what's the difference between self-publishing and publishing or signing to someone?
Well, self-publishing is basically you doing all your legwork. You got a book, you done wrote it, now you gotta sell it, you gotta market it, you gotta be everything. But if you got signed through a publishing company, they do all that for you. So all the legwork you don't have to do, but at the end of the day, you're gonna make less money off of it too.
Right, but also another thing too. Even even if you self-publish or if you sign to a company, you still have to push your book. Now, what
Right.
they do, you don't have to go through the legwork of saying like getting it edited, getting the book cover paid for, the ISBN and all that headache stuff that a self-publisher has to do. But anytime you doing a book, anything you do in life, you still, even a rap artist, whatever, you still got to get out there and push and promote your
Right.
your stuff. So with that being said, like, tell us a little about you, like, man, like where you grew up at, like, you know, where you from, like where can we find you and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I grew up in Compton, man, and on the south side, not gang affiliated, just on the south side. You can find me anywhere, but I'm out there in the IE now. But yeah, a little bit about me. I was playing sports. My story ain't the typical, you know, playing sports. I had almost on my way to college for basketball. My dad cut me off. So once he cut me off, bro, it kind of led me to the little, you know, crimes, robberies. And that's kind of like the little, how I got caught up in the streets, ended up in jail. Went to jail, caught another case. While I was in there, ended up doing 11 years, 5 months, and 9 days. So that's in short a little bit about me. But outside of that, I'm a father, you know what I'm saying? I'm a husband, you know what I mean? Just trying to get it all
And like,
together.
so what's your next project? Like your next book? Do you plan on doing any books with any authors? Do you plan on, like, what's your whole movement? Like, how can a person that want to write a book get in contact with you, or how can a reader get in contact with you?
Well, you can get in contact with me on Amazon, you can I.R. Anderson, Google it, you know, my book's gonna pop up. You can catch me on Instagram, iAuthor, I.R. Anderson, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different outlets. CreateSpace, that's another way you get a hold of me. Just Google the name and it just pop right up.
Got you. Now for the last thing, man, what motivating words would you have for an up and coming author that want to be just like you?
Well, I would basically tell them, man, just start from where you at, man. Don't think about this big old book. Just start little by little and create whatever you're trying to create. And if you discipline enough, it's gonna come, man. Writing is not easy, but it ain't hard. You know what I'm saying? I say that to say, like, just take your time, write every day, get better at your craft, keep pushing. Everything gonna form itself out.
Got you. So with that being said, man, y'all see the man. Show us your book one more time, man, for they can check you out, man.
It's Flocking right here, and then I got Fatherless Son. I also have a new one that just came out. It's called Prison Pimping: How to Get Any Woman in Prison. You can check that out under Enzo Pen.
Oh, that's how to get any woman in prison. But as y'all see, that's I.R. Anderson, man. He's an author, you feel me? He's a publisher. He out here doing his stuff, man. Y'all tap in with him. I thought I'd bring y'all something different from the spin from my channel, you know, me being an author myself, and just give y'all a little game, you know. Here it is. Y'all know the channel, The Hearts of the Streets, Terry Wroten TV, education, entertainment, motivation, and inspiration. Thanks for coming on, man.